Okay, so we are told over and over by the Trump administration, hey, we got to cut tax for the rich and for giant corporations because it's going to lead to jobs for you guys. So what we are doing at TYT Investigates is figuring out, is that true? Are they taking money from tax cuts and actually creating jobs with it? Well, we've found a lot of evidence about FedEx and UPS. So a new story from Steve Horn at TYT Investigates on this. First, let's give you context about how much money these guys make. So UPS reported $49.6 billion in gross profits for 2016, while FedEx reported $38.3 billion for fiscal year 2017. Both companies also paid out billions more to their investors in the form of dividends and stock buybacks. Now, I'm not telling you that because there's something wrong with them making money. Have at it, Hoss, make as much money as you want, and then if your stockholders do well, great, fantastic. That's not the issue. The issue is sometimes they'll say like, oh, golly gee, we're gonna create jobs, but we don't have enough money. That's why we need the tax cuts. If we had the tax cuts, then finally we could make some money and then create more jobs. And that's what they say on TV over and over again. And they send out lackeys to do likewise, which you're gonna see in a second. So in fact, UPS CEO David Abney told the audience at a September 20th event held by the Business Roundtable, a consortium of corporate CEOs, that revamping the US tax system is, quote, about growing the American economy, creating jobs, and giving us all a chance to be competitive. Now, poor guys, I mean, they only made $49.6 billion in gross profits. They can't be competitive without tax cuts. Okay, but that's fine, okay? What I care about is jobs. Now, if they actually created jobs, then hey, hunky-dory, everybody's, the middle class goes up, etc., right? And they make more money, God bless. Now, are they actually going to do that? Now, before I get to the both tragic and hilarious results of their so-called job creation, let me give you one more thing from FedEx. Now, this is gonna be Stephen Moore, he's a conservative, and he says that he was at an event with the CEO of FedEx, that's Fred Smith. And apparently Fred Smith also promised great jobs if we cut taxes. Let's watch.
We're up here at a 40% tax rate on our businesses, and the rest of the world's at 20% or less. So our businesses, when they compete in global markets, are starting with a 20 percentage point disadvantage. That's just un-American. Why don't we go from having one of the worst tax systems in the world to one of the best in terms of attracting businesses, jobs back in the United States? I had dinner, Allison, the other night with Fred Smith, the CEO of FedEx, a company that employs 100,000 Americans, and he just basically said, look, if you get that tax rate down, as Donald Trump is talking about, and you also do the repatriation. Remember, Allison, we want to allow companies to bring money, trillions of dollars that's overseas back invested in the United States. He said, look, we're going to build new airplanes. We're going to have more, vehicles. We're going to hire more workers.
We're going to hire more workers. That's what FedEx said. That's what they're going to do with the money because otherwise they don't have enough money to hire workers. And now, before we get to the great follow-up to that, Stephen Moore's not telling the truth. He said, we're at 40 and others are at 20. Actually, no, we're not at 40. The top rate for corporations are 35%, but most of them don't pay that. What Stephen Moore doesn't tell you is that the effective corporate tax rate, the tax they actually pay, is 22%. So we're not anywhere near 40. So that lie about, the poor corporations paying 40%, not remotely true. But Allison Cameretto is actually pretty great. And she, unlike a lot of other anchors, had an excellent follow-up question. Watch this.
Aren't they going to also automate things more?
Sure.
I mean, is he actually giving a number of how many workers he's going to hire? How many?
Yeah. Well, he said thousands, and that's one company. I mean, Apple CEO Tim Cook has said that they're going to bring 150 billion, not 150 million, 150 billion dollars back to the United States. Some of that will go to dividends to shareholders and pension funds. Some of that money will be used to expand.
Okay, thousands? That was awesome. All right, great follow-up question there. So now let's show you some of the reality of what we already know. So this is, they say, oh, well, if you give me these future tax cuts, I'll create jobs. Well, okay, well, you guys have had a lot of tax subsidies in the past from the federal government and also from different state governments. So what happened in those cases? Maybe that'll be a guidepost for us. So that's what Steve Horn looked at here. UPS has applied for and been approved for at least $9.025 million in tax benefits from the Indiana Economic Development Corporation, IEDC, since 2012, according to contracts reviewed by TYT. So now, Mike Pence used to, of course, be the governor of Indiana. Now he's lieutenant governor, he's the current governor. So how'd that turn out? Well, interesting twist here. However, more than $8.3 million of those benefits has yet to be dispersed, in part because some Indiana state tax assistance programs are contingent on provable job creation. The tax dollars already distributed to UPS by IEDC went not toward job creation, but toward improving, quote, efficiencies within the company. Okay, first of all, a lot of times efficiencies means I fired you and I'm now more efficient. Okay, but put that aside. So they're like, okay, here's $9 million, but you have to show that you create jobs. By the way, here, credit to Indiana, Pence and the new governor, because it did say in there you have to create jobs. And then UPS is like, oh, we were just kidding. We weren't really going to create jobs. So they couldn't get most of the money. They had to, the $8.3 million had to sit there because they didn't actually create jobs. They're like, why don't we just take the money and create efficiencies? Isn't that good enough? In this case, not good enough, okay? Because they never use it for that. All right, TYT has learned, Horn continues, that the one time in recent years in which IEDC granted UPS a tax credit contingent on job creation, the company backed away from the deal, okay? So this is another deal. The tax credit was worth $875,000, and they just said, look, in return, you don't have to create thousands of jobs. It was very specific, 207 jobs at a minimum wage of, for Indiana in this case, $11.05. Okay, I don't know that those numbers add up, but it's not bad spending $875,000 if you got 207 jobs. It could be worse, not bad. Okay, so what did UPS do? They never built the hub in Jeffersonville. They were like, nah, really? We actually have to create the jobs? Once again, nope, we got no jobs, so we were just hoping to just get the money. And they didn't get the money. So good job in following up with that with the Indiana government so that they didn't get the money. Okay, now we go to Illinois and FedEx. Illinois Department of Transportation's Economic Development Program gave FedEx a $2 million subsidy toward its Cherry Valley hub in 2008. According to forms it has submitted with the Illinois Department of Transportation, FedEx has created 31 jobs there since receiving the money. Now that one was not contingent, but they went and followed up. And with $2 million, they created 31 jobs. Woo. Okay, now, the other thing they never tell you is, were those 31 jobs actually new jobs, or did they just bring them from another state? Because one of the things that FedEx and UPS, like a lot of other corporations do, is they threaten the local state government. They go, well, look, I've got a center in Memphis, but I could move it to Mississippi. And they play these games to get subsidies and your hard-earned tax dollars. And sometimes they'll take the 31 jobs from Mississippi and move it to Memphis and go, Memphis, nice job on the money that you gave me, right, et cetera. Now look, this was about Illinois, but there is another, and read the whole story and we'll have the story for you. The link down in the description box below. Great job by TYT Investigates, which by the way, you guys built. Thank you for doing that so we could find out stories like this. So this case was in Illinois, but there is one involving Memphis and Mississippi. You read the whole story. Last two things for you guys. We go back to UPS. In 2015, UPS got $1.7 million in tax rebate money from the Kentucky Economic Development Finance Authority for its highly automated Centennial Hub in Louisville. According to the Kentucky Cabinet for Economic Development, the tax deal aims to create 12 new jobs. Okay, now you lost me. I mean, it's one thing to spend $875,000 and hope to get back a couple of hundred jobs, which didn't happen because they were not telling the truth or never delivered, right? It's another thing to spend $1.75 million and create 12 jobs that might or might not move from a different state. I think that a lot of you will agree with me. This is not the right way to do things. But if you did a poll in Kentucky and you said, all right, we can either give a company $2 million, nearly $2 million, 1.75, and then create 12 jobs, maybe, okay, or we're gonna pick 12 random people in Kentucky and just give them $1.75 million. I'm pretty sure I know which way that poll is gonna come out. Like, if it's that little jobs, just give them the money. You'd be way better off. The reason I tell you that is that's not the right way to do it. The reason I tell you that is because the point is for these governments to just give the money to the corporations who often donate to the politicians' campaigns anyway. They're just trying to find an excuse. They're like, no, it's okay. We created 12 jobs. Okay, finally, in 2012, the company landed, this is FedEx now, a $14.64 million Tennessee tax abatement, which went toward expanding a FedEx pilot training facility at the Memphis airport. That sounds like it might create jobs, but it didn't. It created 0 jobs in the process. 14 some odd million dollars right into their pocket, 0 jobs for you. So the next time you see these guys on TV telling you, oh yeah, we don't want the tax cuts for ourselves. No, we want it for you guys so we can create jobs for you. Know that in the past, that has not been their record. They take the money and they pay themselves through stock buybacks, which increases the amount of money that the executives make. Yes, the shareholders do well, but the executives do great with those stock buybacks. And oftentimes, as we have covered in other stories related to this in TYT Investigates, what they'll also do is create efficiencies where they either automate your job or outsource your job. Whatever you do, don't believe the hype just because someone on TV told you that they were doing it for your benefit. Oftentimes, if you look at the facts as we have, that is the opposite of what's the case. If you like the Young Turks, you'll love Young Turks membership, tytnetwork.com/join.